Hey there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today for Conversations with Coaches. For those that don't know me, I'm Jennifer Tamborski. I'm the CEO and Chief Strategist of Virtual Marketing Expert. We're a digital marketing company that specializes in working with business owners who have a desire to make an impact on the world through their courses, coaching, and consulting services. We help them to accelerate their business and scale their impact. You see, I truly believe coaches have the ability to change the world, and I wanted to have a part in it. So I created Conversations with Coaches to help get their message out there. Today, I have Kiva on with me, and it's a little bit of a different thing because Kiva's not technically a coach. She's more of a consultant or an online business manager. But I know the amount of information she has to share with our audience is going to be amazing and life-changing for you. Kiva, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. So yes, I am Kiva Slade of the 516 Collaborative, and I'm a certified online business manager. And I really work with a lot of mid-6 and 7-figure business owners coming in to take over day-to-day operations, serving as that voice of reason, hey, sometimes a confidant, as they move forward and really try to grow their businesses even bigger than they are now, but really allowing them to step back into their zones of genius. Because most of us didn't say, hey, I want to manage a team. That's what I want to do when I grow up. So we let them get back to doing what they do best, and we come in and serve as that right hand.
Awesome, awesome. So one of the questions I hear a lot is, what is the difference between an online business owner and a virtual assistant, or an online business manager and a virtual assistant?
Yes, we get that question a lot. So let's see. A very high level definition breakdown would be online business managers manage, virtual assistants do. So we could kind of start there, just even with the titles alone, there's that manage in that online business manager. But really just breaking it down even further than that really becomes down to someone coming in your business that really is coming in, if we were to imagine this in a corporate setting, as mid senior level management. Okay, they're coming in with a skill set that normally does involve project management, and there's team management, strategic planning. So really someone who's coming in and having that top view of your business and serving as like a strategic growth partner to come in and facilitate that day-to-day operation. Is that going to be the team aspect of it combined with just the even operations aspect of it? You know, a lot of times, especially with online businesses, there are softwares for days, and there's so many different systems and things that are changing. But I think sometimes we also miss the opportunity of still instilling processes and different things of that sort, so that our businesses are equipped with actual documentation on how we're looking for things to be done. So that online business manager comes in and really makes sure that the back end isn't messy, gets everything really going in that way, but also serving as that team manager, serving as that one who keeps all the trains moving, at the right times, at the right stations, and on the right tracks, which is really important. But then also serving as that strategic partner. What does it look like for our, 2021? What does that look like if we were to break out that whole year into quarters? How are we going to do, what is our focus over the next 90 days? And, what do we have in place now that we, is ready? And what else do we need to plan for? Because let's be honest, no one planned for 2020 to have COVID. And so, like when that happens, like how does that shift happen? How does that pivot? And really someone that has that steadiness of, hey, we're not going to panic. This is, we're going to think through this. What are we going to do? Typically, if you get into like Colby scores, your online business managers, they're your high fact finders. They're like, wait a minute, everybody calm down. We have research. We got this, And really your virtual assistants are amazing. And we all need those to run many of our businesses, but they do not have that. It's more of a silo that they're in. They're in your social media. They're in your general admin. They're not the ones though who are going to typically say, okay, this is happening at this part of the business. This is also happening over here, and this, and keeping track of all of those pieces. So the bottom line is you really have your managers and you have your doers. And that comes down to being, I think, one of the biggest differences between the two. And And I think it can get a little bit more granular sometimes, but I mean, there are some OBMs that, have more of a focus maybe on marketing. While there might be some that are like, you know what, they spent 20 years in HR. So they are like, give me your teams, your huddled masses, and I'll take them, And so you do find some differences in that. As well. So I think it's important as, business owners, as coaches, to know what it is that your strengths are, what are your weaknesses, and what are you looking for as it relates to partnering with someone on that level, which is a bit different sometimes than when we're hiring a virtual assistant.
Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, I think everybody has their place in a business, right? And a lot of people start with a VA and work their way up to having someone in an OBM position. One of the conversations that we had on our last talk was really, how do you know when you're ready to hire an OBM?
Yeah, that's a really good one. And it's so critically important because if you hire too soon, there's frustration. Let's be honest. I really think a lot of times you can look at it, if we say from the finances perspective, okay, really about 350K, even more than that, sometimes 500K, because depending on the nature of the business, there are some businesses that could really run with a lean staff up to $1 million. With no problem. So it really looks at some of the nature of how the business is structured and what services they are rendering, but really a good 350K coming in as revenue. Because I mean, if we started to break that down, like say you're like, oh, I hit $15,000 months, okay, and you take out your pay as an owner, you take out taxes, okay, you take out your staff. Maybe you have a VA and you also have a web designer or a copywriter. Okay, so you've taken out that. Let's hope you set aside something for profit, even if it's 5%. And then you're saying, oh, okay, on average, maybe you have $3,000 left. Do you really want someone else coming into your business at, say, 20 hours a month or 40 hours a month with that 3,000 or 4,000 saying, okay, now I'm going to come in and manage that. Okay. So even at a 15K a month, you're like, oh, man, wait a minute. I'd like to hold on to a little bit more of that money. And rightfully so. So really, if you look at it at that stage, it's really the dollar amount, but also it really cuts down to, when are you as the owner just feeling you're exasperated. You are stretched so thin, and all the things that you are doing, that you find yourself doing, are not revenue generating activities. Okay. You're finding yourself managing the team. You're in Asana or ClickUp, like, oh, did anyone do this task? What's going on with this task? How about this task over here? You are so not operating in your zone of genius. You are not operating in your gifts and your skill set. You find yourself pretty much micromanaging everyone else because there's no one to keep track of what's going on. Okay. And so that's where that project manager, online business manager, director of operations comes in and says, okay, look, we have a ton of moving pieces and you need someone to allow you to step back into the role that you really shine in and that actually moves the needle on that business, instead of having you being the taskmaster inside of a project management tool or inside of Slack, and you're not sleeping, you're not resting because nothing's happening in the business except you running around feeling like a firefighter. So I think it's really kind of a twofold of, you know what, I really have all these other tasks that I've taken on that are not doing anything really to help me move this business forward. And also looking at what can I afford, where I am. And it could be, excuse me, that you might need someone at like maybe 15 hours a month, because you don't need them to, you might have a small team, or you might have just the need for someone to kind of make sure big picture wise things are actually moving forward. They've given you the plans and now it's up to you and your team to really implement and execute on those. Then that also really helps. So I would say the mid 350 at least, because you want to look at that from a financial perspective,
Right.
but then also look at it from hey, did I sign up to be the firefighter? No, actually I didn't. I'm the CEO and I really need to step into that and own that. So
Yeah. And also I think it for coaches anyway, sometimes they need maybe an OBM for a shorter period of time because they have a big launch coming up or they have a big whatever thing that they're doing. And sometimes they need somebody else to make sure all of the things get
right.
done, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's the other thing is thinking about this in terms of, do I actually need someone to be with me for the whole entire year or for 6 months? I might just need that. I have a launch coming up. Um, I have a huge website redesign that I need to have done. Don't think that, oh my gosh, I have to commit with this person for 6, 9, 12 months or something. It could literally be, hey, you know what? I have a 3-month project. All right. And I really need someone to oversee this, make sure everything is done, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, so that I'm not going crazy on my end, figuring out what's going on. And I mean, and that's truly where an OBM can come in and shine. If you've seen some of the detailed launch plans we put out, spreadsheets are our friends. Okay. And you're looking at that, but you want that because you're saying like, I don't know what, we're at November almost. So I'm going to launch this in February, and you're like, oh, how is that going to be possible? No worries. Let's backtrack from where we are as our launch date and really just start putting those pieces together. Who do we have on our team? Who do we still need on our team? Oh, the copywriter last time. I don't know, she captured the message or he captured the message. Maybe we need to look for someone else, And it could also be that you have a point in your business where you're like, you know what? I need to beef up my team. So I need to have partner with someone. Can you manage the hiring process for me? Can you come in and say, look, I want to hire a VA, but truth be told, I did it myself the last time and it didn't work out. So, can you come in and help me with hiring, a VA? Can you come in and help me with hiring a web designer and manage, like I said, that project? Excuse me, my phone decided to ring. And can you do that? So, I mean, definitely think about it in terms of what do you need at that moment and who can fill that need, and not necessarily go into it with the thought of, oh my gosh, I have to commit to this for this whole entire a year long or whatever long contract process when you may not need that. And once again, that kind of goes back to really understanding your business and knowing that there is that leanness that's possible, and not overstaffing yourself before you're ready to really fully utilize that staff. So I think that that's really important too.
Yeah. One of the things that you said in your conversation is helping the process, right? Helping come in with the process. And I think sometimes business owners need that, and then they can go back to life in general, right? Like if they
Yep.
have someone coming in that can help them, and that's exactly where you guys come into play, is really helping them design the process out, and then you can hand it over to a VA or
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, and that's such a part of it is setting up the SOPs, setting up those processes so that you're saying, okay, this is how things are done here. We have a launch. Okay. This is what happens if someone misses a payment. These are the steps that need to be followed. If we have someone who is on a recurring plan, and this is how we reach out to them before their recurring plan ends. And this is what we engage them to enroll in our next plan. Yeah. So, but really laying out all of those processes. And I think sometimes for business owners, there's that feeling of fear because they're like, but I don't have anything documented. It's okay. All right. Like most of the time a business has the systems, they just don't have it written out. And I always encourage people, if you're a solopreneur to having a small staff, using a tool like Loom or some other screen capturing recording software or application, record yourself doing that, or have the VA, if you have one, record their self doing it. And just, even if it's not that is transcribed into written steps yet, have that video library. So then you're not feeling like, I don't have all of the pieces, I'm not ready to bring this person on. most of the time we have the assets. It's just that we haven't thought to kind of like grab them and put them somewhere.
Yeah, it's
So
about
take
getting them out
those.
of our head.
Yeah, yeah. So download your mind and like record yourself doing the things that you do, and really just keep all those Loom videos in Loom or in a Google Drive, and then it's like, oh, okay, I really do have this already done. And so when you bring on that OBM to help you with SOPs and processes, they have those videos. In addition to that, they can map out from conversations with you. So this is step one. This is how this takes place. Mapping that out, filling in those pieces that are missing. And sometimes it might be more of a templated SOP until the business kind of has that part of it in play, because sometimes there might be SOPs that you need for future use. But even client onboarding, staff onboarding, maybe you need your project management tool set up. You're like, oh, we've just kind of been doing things, but now you're at a point where you're like, I need a little bit more accountability just to know where things are. So maybe it's coming in to help you putting all of that into Asana or ClickUp or Team, Monday, whatever the software that you've chosen for your business, and saying, okay, this is what we're going to need set up. This is what our business does. And even I think for staff onboarding, sometimes we don't think that because they're independent contractors, but you really do want them to buy into your vision. You want them to feel as if they're a part. So even having a section that is for your staff onboarding, so they understand you and your why and what your business does and who do you serve, so that they have they feel a part of that. And those are all things that, yes, an OBM can come in and help with that setup. Help with your strategic planning. A lot of times we have our goals, but what are the smaller steps that we need to get there? Do you need to have someone really lay out for you that 90-day plan that, yes, you do then take and implement yourself or with the help of your virtual assistant? And that's a function that they do, that we can really just come in and see that big picture, but really break that down and say, okay, this is how you get there. Okay. And understanding, of course, if we have another global pandemic, then we might need to make a slight tweak or change, but it's better when we have a plan than when we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. And then we're kind of really feeling like all out of sorts when something like that happens. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a quote out there that, failing to plan is planning to fail. And the other one that I really like is, a goal without a plan is just a dream, right?
yes.
So sitting down with someone to set out those plans, especially, for those of you that are watching or listening in the future, this is the fall of 2020. So we're in a global pandemic and a lot of people's businesses have gone off the rails. And those that had a plan could continue to follow them.
Yes,
So,
they really have.
yeah.
And they've actually thrived and prospered in many instances.
Absolutely.
And I personally have been amazed. It's just some of the creativity. People have had to get scrappy,
Mhm.
and in that getting scrappy, people have said, okay, there are the huge shifts where people had to figure out, how do I do this, what I've been doing online?
Yeah.
Like we all know of all the Zoom drama that most of us had to encounter, because it was like all of a sudden everybody and your grandma literally were on Zoom. Okay. So it was like, oh my goodness gracious, but we all figured it out, and we've adapted and we've continued to move forward. But those that had a plan, yeah, they're like 10 steps ahead because of the fact that they were like, oh, wait, okay, so we tweak this and we tweak that and we can keep moving. Absolutely. So I do think that that's really important as we look at 2021 and, whether there's a vaccine or not, or more lockdowns or whatever happens, that having a plan in place is really helpful. It's crucial really to that longevity for that business owner. And that's, let's be honest, a lot of times that's the difference between, hey, we're doing kind of okay over there and we're struggling over here trying to figure out what we're going to do next. And no one wants to live in that land.
Yeah. So there are, because of 2020 and the pandemic, there are a lot of people that are becoming reluctant entrepreneurs, right? whatever their job was is no longer in existence at this particular time. So they're looking for other ways to kind of make a career online. Do you have any advice for them? Like, what would be your step 1, 2, 3 kind of thing to set up your online business in a way that's going to help you succeed?
Yeah, I think first of that is really knowing yourself. Because if we're honest, some of us are happy that our previous careers have ended, and it's just like we're not maybe happy about the money, but we were in soul sucking things that really weren't serving us. And I think it's helpful that if we've learned anything from this pandemic is what are your passions? What are the things that actually light you up? So knowing yourself, and that can extend even broader into a Colby assessment, a Strength Finders, really understanding what are your skills? What are your gifts? What are the things that you can do? And everyone knows that you can do them. And you may not think about them as something that can actually be something that that generates revenue. You might be surprised. So that would be step 1 is really looking at that. Step 2 is doing your research. Don't just go by a lot of what, everyone says you should do. Okay. You should be on every social media platform. You should. When you hear the you should, just kind of start to tune that out and think about what do I need to do? What feels best for me? Because the one thing I think that we've learned is that consistency is key. And if you're going to throw yourself into the you shoulds and you're like, I hate Instagram, but they said I have to be on here, you're not going to be consistent in that. And that's going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. So really figure out for yourself. If you're coming from a corporate background and you've been on LinkedIn, stay on LinkedIn. Okay, there are ways for you to network on LinkedIn and put yourself out there, and you still might be surprised as to what happens. And I think my third thing would really be make connections. Even though we're in a virtual environment and, we're not getting to have that face-to-face that we're so typically used to, it still exists. It's just a little bit different. Make connections. People still want relationship. People still value that. And you want that connection with someone so that you can actually develop a friendship, a relationship with someone. And that person's going to think about you when something does come their way, or you're going to think about them. And I think that that's really, it's key, because I think sometimes we forget about that, but people still want to do business with their friends and they want to refer their friends. So even as you make that kind of shift to know yourself, do your research and do what feels comfortable for you, because that's the thing that you'll be able to keep doing, and then really continue to make friendships, make relationships, connect with people, because it's still really valuable and important. And that part of that, our need as humans, that's not going to go away in the midst of a transition to a virtual environment. So, that would, and if I add one more, just feel
Absolutely.
comfortable with tech. If you're not feeling like you are, kind of understand how does Zoom work, or Google Meets, or some other software like that. But
You don't have to know all tech.
yeah, no, definitely just feel like, but just have that willingness to be comfortable with it, and a willingness to learn. Because if we're honest, a lot of them all work the same. There might be one or two things that they're like, oh, this word is different on this drop down menu than this one, but you're still, if you have a level of comfort with it, you can navigate different platforms with relative ease.
Yeah.
So I would say that.
Yeah. I love those tips. I absolutely love them. Especially tip 3, the connection, because that's how we met, right? That
Yes.
reaching out on LinkedIn and creating a connection, which is awesome. And it really, I know I've used it the past several months a lot, just because it's the only way to make a connection now, right?
Yeah. And now that we get to have friends from like all over the world.
Exactly. I got people I talk to weekly in Australia. So it's kind of awesome, right?
Yeah,
So,
you know, like the pen pal days where you had to wait for like weeks for someone's stamp letter to reach you. It doesn't have to happen that way now. We can have conversations with people all over the world in a matter of minutes. So take advantage of that.
absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me today, Kiva. I'm going to wrap up our conversation because honestly, we could chat for hours. But before I let you go, what's the best way for people that want more information about your services or being an OBM to contact you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You can reach me on my website, the516collaborative.com. I am also on LinkedIn as Kiva Slade, on Instagram, on Facebook. That doesn't, yeah, look, I'm there, but some of it I am just reposting people. So don't think that I'm being everywhere. Yeah, but definitely you can reach out. Also, like I said, on my website is probably like the best way to find me. And yeah, reach out and let's connect. And if you have any questions, hey, I'm thinking I want to do something virtually. Let's talk about it. There's a lot of opportunity that's out there. So reach out and grab it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to have all of your links in the show notes below, and I can't say how much I appreciate this. It's a different form of a chat than we normally have, but it's so important, especially right now for everybody that's transitioning to online, is just
Definitely.
understanding those, what can actually be done. So thank you for joining me, and thank you everybody for joining me on Conversations with Coaches, and we'll see you next time.